Verstappen's pole is making things tricky for McLaren. Lando reveals a plan for Turn 1 and all the latest F1 news. What if I told you that everything you think you know about championship pressure is about to be flipped completely upside down? While the entire Formula One world expects Lando Norris to play it safe in Abu Dhabi, the McLaren driver has just revealed a psychological masterstroke that could change everything we understand about title fights forever. Picture this scenario. You're leading the championship by 12 points heading into the final race of the season. Conventional wisdom says you should drive conservatively, avoid risks, and simply bring the car home safely. But what if that exact expectation becomes your greatest weapon? What if everyone underestimating your willingness to attack actually gives you the perfect opportunity to strike when they least expect it? This is exactly the mental chess game Lando Norris is playing as he prepares for what could be the most important 90 minutes of his racing career. Starting from second position on the grid at the Yas Marina circuit, Norris finds himself in a position that most drivers would kill for. A simple second-place finish behind Max Verstappen would guarantee him his first Formula One World Championship. Yet instead of focusing on that conservative path to glory, Norris is thinking about something entirely different. The psychological warfare begins with a simple observation. Everyone assumes that because Norris is leading the championship, he won't take any chances. His rivals, his competitors, even the media have all bought into this narrative that he'll drive defensively from lights to flag. But Norris sees this universal expectation as his secret advantage, a hidden weapon that nobody sees coming. Think about it from a strategic perspective. When your opponents expect you to be cautious, they let their guard down. They assume you won't make aggressive moves or attempt risky overtakes. This false sense of security creates opportunities that simply wouldn't exist if they viewed you as a genuine threat to attack. It's psychological manipulation at its finest, using your opponent's assumptions against them. The beauty of this approach lies in its simplicity. While everyone focuses on protecting their own positions against what they perceive as limited threats, Norris could potentially exploit gaps and opportunities that arise from this collective misconception. His rivals might defend less aggressively, make different strategic choices, or position themselves differently on track because they don't expect him to capitalize on weaknesses. But executing this strategy requires incredible mental strength and composure. The pressure of leading a championship fight is already immense, and choosing to race aggressively when you could play it safe multiplies that pressure exponentially. One mistake, one moment of overconfidence, and months of hard work could evaporate in seconds. The margin for error becomes virtually non-existent when you're fighting for positions you don't technically need. This psychological approach represents a fascinating evolution in Norris's championship mindset. Earlier in the season, he found himself in the role of the hunter, chasing down his teammate Oscar Piastri for the championship lead. That position taught him valuable lessons about attacking when you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Now, as the hunted, he's applying those same aggressive instincts while managing the additional pressure of defending a lead. The transformation from hunter to hunted typically changes everything about a driver's approach. Most drivers become more conservative when they have something to protect, focusing on damage limitation rather than maximum attack. But Norris seems determined to maintain his attacking mentality regardless of his championship position. This refusal to change his fundamental driving philosophy could prove to be either genius or catastrophic. What makes this situation even more compelling is the quality of competition breathing down his neck. Max Verstappen, starting from pole position, represents the most dangerous immediate threat. The Dutch driver's qualifying performance was absolutely dominant, showing speed that McLaren simply couldn't match. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri sits just 16 points behind in the championship, perfectly positioned to capitalize on any mistakes from his teammate. The three-way dynamic creates multiple layers of strategic complexity. Piastri faces his own difficult decision about team orders and whether to help his teammates secure the championship or pursue his own title ambitions. Verstappen, despite not being in championship contention, will be desperate to end his season on a high note with a victory. These competing motivations could create unpredictable racing scenarios where Norris's psychological strategy becomes either brilliant or backfires spectacularly. Consider the specific challenges of the Yas Marina circuit in this context. The track features multiple overtaking opportunities, particularly into the heavy braking zones, but it also punishes mistakes severely. The combination of high-speed corners and technical sequences means that aggressive moves carry significant risks. If Norris commits to racing offensively, he'll need to judge these risk-reward calculations perfectly throughout the entire Grand Prix. The qualifying session revealed important insights about relative performance levels. While Norris expressed satisfaction with his own lap, he acknowledged that McLaren simply lacked the ultimate pace to challenge Verstappen. This speed deficit could actually support his psychological strategy, as it provides legitimate justification for taking risks to overcome a performance disadvantage. Weather conditions and tire degradation will add another layer of complexity to race day. The desert heat affects tire performance significantly, and strategic decisions about pit stops could create opportunities for position changes. If Norris commits to his aggressive approach, he'll need to be prepared to maximize these strategic windows while managing the championship mathematics simultaneously. The mental preparation required for this approach cannot be understated. Norris must maintain absolute focus on racing for victory while constantly calculating championship scenarios in the background. One part of his brain needs to drive with the killer instinct of someone with nothing to lose, while another part monitors the bigger picture of title implications. This championship finale represents more than just a single race result. It's a defining moment that will shape how we remember this entire season and potentially influence Norris's approach to future championship battles. Success would validate his aggressive philosophy and establish him as a driver who can handle pressure without compromising his natural racing instincts. Failure could raise questions about decision-making under pressure and championship temperament. The broader implications extend beyond just this weekend's race. Formula One has witnessed numerous championship deciders where conservative approaches backfired and aggressive strategies paid unexpected dividends. Norris seems determined to write his own chapter in this narrative, refusing to let championship pressure fundamentally alter his racing DNA. As the lights prepare to go out at Yas Marina, the stage is set for a masterclass in psychological warfare and strategic execution. Will Norris's confidence in his ability to surprise his opponents prove justified? Or will the pressure of championship expectations ultimately force him into the conservative approach everyone expects? The answer will define not just a championship, but possibly a career. What if I told you that Formula One's greatest comeback story is about to reach its climax in the desert heat of Abu Dhabi? Max Verstappen has just pulled off something that sends chills down the spine of every racing fan who remembers that legendary night in 2021. The three-time world champion has secured pole position for what could be the most dramatic title finale in recent memory, and his mindset going into this race will shock you. Picture this. Just months ago, Verstappen was staring at a championship deficit that seemed insurmountable, 104 points behind. That's the kind of gap that ends seasons, crushes dreams, and sends drivers into early retirement mode. But not Max Verstappen. This man thrives when the odds are stacked against him, when the pressure would break lesser mortals, when everyone counts him out. Fast forward to today, and that impossible mountain has been reduced to just 12 points. 12. That's less than a single race win. What we're witnessing isn't just a comeback, it's a masterclass in mental fortitude and raw driving talent that will be talked about for generations. The man who many thought was finished has clawed his way back into championship contention with a performance streak that defies belief. Since the summer break, Verstappen has been nothing short of phenomenal. 5 Grand Prix victories, a perfect podium record, each race building momentum, each win tightening the noose around his competitors' championship dreams. This isn't just good driving. This is the kind of sustained excellence that separates legends from also-rans. And now, with pole position secured at the season finale, he's positioned himself for one final strike. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. When asked about his strategy for the crucial race start, Verstappen's response was as bold as it was revealing. No calculated caution, no playing it safe. Instead, he declared his intention to go all out, holding nothing back. This is a man with nothing to lose and everything to gain, and that makes him incredibly dangerous on track. The psychological warfare is already beginning. Verstappen knows that his championship rivals, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, are feeling the pressure. They've watched their comfortable lead evaporate race by race, victory by victory. Now they find themselves in the unenviable position of having to contain a driver who has explicitly stated he's going for broke. The hunter has become the hunted, and the roles have completely reversed. What makes this even more compelling is Verstappen's comparison to his legendary 2021 Abu Dhabi performance. That was the race where he dethroned Lewis Hamilton, ending one of the most dominant eras in Formula One history. The parallels are striking. Then, as now, he started from pole position. Then, as now, he was the underdog fighting for a championship that seemed out of reach. Then, as now, he thrived under the immense pressure of a title showdown. The qualifying lap that secured him this pole position wasn't just fast, it was 0.2 quicker than anything the McLaren drivers could produce. In Formula One terms, that's a significant margin. It's the difference between confidence and doubt, between controlling your destiny and hoping for miracles. Verstappen has put himself in the driver's seat, literally and figuratively. But the real story here is the mentality. When most drivers would be calculating points and playing percentages, Verstappen is embracing the chaos. He's willing to defend aggressively when needed and attack relentlessly when opportunities arise. This isn't the approach of someone hoping to luck into a championship. This is the mindset of a true racer who believes in taking what he wants rather than waiting for it to be given. The grid setup for this finale couldn't be more perfect for drama. Championship leader Norris will start alongside Verstappen on the front row, while Piastri launches from third. The three title contenders occupying the top three positions means we're guaranteed fireworks from the very first corner. Every move will be scrutinized. Every decision could determine the championship outcome. What's particularly fascinating is how Verstappen's approach contrasts with the pressure his rivals must be feeling. While he talks about having nothing to lose, Norris and Piastri are in the position of having everything to lose. They've held the championship advantage all season, and now they're watching it slip away with each passing race. That psychological burden can be crushing for even the most experienced drivers. The technical aspects of Verstappen's pole-winning lap reveal something crucial about his current form. This wasn't a lucky lap or a fluke performance. The precision, the commitment, the sheer speed demonstrated that he's operating at the absolute peak of his abilities. When drivers reach this level, when they're in what athletes call the zone, they become nearly unstoppable. Verstappen's track record under pressure is simply extraordinary. Throughout his career, the bigger the moment, the higher the stakes, the better he performs. It's a rare quality that separates true champions from talented drivers who never quite reach the pinnacle. This psychological resilience, combined with his technical skill, makes him a formidable opponent in any high-pressure situation. The strategic implications of starting from pole position cannot be overstated. In modern Formula One, track position is everything. The driver who controls the start often controls the race, especially at a circuit like Abu Dhabi, where overtaking opportunities are limited. Verstappen has given himself the best possible platform to execute his all-out strategy. Looking at the broader context of this championship fight, what Verstappen has accomplished is truly remarkable. To come back from such a massive deficit requires not just speed, but consistency, mental strength, and the ability to perform when it matters most. Each of his 5 victories since the summer break has been crucial, building momentum and applying psychological pressure to his rivals. The comparison to 2021 isn't just about the pole position or the circuit. It's about the moment, the pressure, the stakes involved. In 2021, Verstappen was trying to win his first championship against a 7-time world champion. Now, he's fighting for what would be his 5th consecutive title, cementing his status among the sport's all-time greats. The motivation is different, but the hunger remains the same. As we head into this championship finale, one thing is certain: Max Verstappen has positioned himself perfectly for one of the greatest comebacks in Formula One history. His all-out approach, combined with pole position and his proven ability to deliver under pressure, makes him the most dangerous man on the grid. The question isn't whether he can win the race, but whether his rivals can handle the pressure of containing a driver who has nothing left to lose and everything to prove. This is what championship racing is all about. Raw talent, mental fortitude, and the willingness to risk everything for glory. Verstappen has set the stage for what could be an absolutely legendary finale to the 2025 season. What you're about to hear will blow your mind. George Russell just pulled off one of the most brilliant psychological moves in Formula One history, and it happened right under everyone's noses during Abu Dhabi qualifying. While the entire paddock was focused on the championship battle between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, Russell was playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers. Let me paint the picture for you. We're at the season finale in Abu Dhabi, where Norris holds a 12-point lead over Verstappen heading into the final race. The mathematics are simple but brutal for Max. He needs to win and hope Norris finishes fourth or lower to claim his fourth consecutive championship. Everything is on the line, and tensions are through the roof. Then comes qualifying, where Verstappen secures pole position with Norris right behind him in second. But here's where things get interesting. During the final qualifying session, George Russell makes what seems like a routine radio call to his Mercedes team. He asks them to position him directly behind Verstappen during the in-lap, casually mentioning that Max will probably give him a tow. Now, on the surface, this sounds like standard racing strategy. Drivers constantly look for slipstream advantages, especially at power circuits like Abu Dhabi. But Russell has now revealed the true genius behind his radio message, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. The Mercedes driver admitted after qualifying that his radio call wasn't really about getting a tow at all. Instead, it was a strategic hint directed at the Red Bull pit wall. Russell was essentially sending a coded message to Verstappen's team, reminding them of a crucial tactical opportunity they might want to consider for race day. Think about it from Red Bull's perspective. Verstappen is starting ahead of Norris, which puts him in the perfect position to control the race pace. If Max can back up the field and create a train of cars behind Norris, he increases the chances of the McLaren driver making a mistake or getting caught up in wheel-to-wheel battles that could cost him precious points. This is where Russell's psychological masterstroke comes into play. By making that radio call publicly, knowing full well that all teams monitor each other's communications, he was essentially planting a seed in Red Bull's strategic thinking. He was reminding them that Verstappen needs other cars in the mix to disrupt Norris's path to the championship. The beauty of this move lies in its subtlety. Russell wasn't being obvious about it. He disguised his hint as a routine request for track position, but the underlying message was crystal clear to anyone paying attention. Max went early in the first qualifying run, putting him in the perfect position to execute this strategy, and Red Bull obviously needs somebody to get between their driver and Norris. But Russell's brilliance doesn't stop there. In his post-qualifying interviews, he doubled down on the psychological warfare by openly discussing how backing up the pack would be a logical strategy for Verstappen. He compared it to tactics used on street circuits like Singapore, where controlling the pace and then extending gaps during pit stops is standard procedure. Russell explained that on certain tracks, you can easily drop half a second or a full second at specific points without being dangerous or causing risk to yourself. It's all about managing the pace by 3 or 4 tenths more, which naturally condenses the field and creates opportunities for chaos behind the leader. The Mercedes driver even referenced the infamous Abu Dhabi 2016 race, where Lewis Hamilton deliberately backed up teammate Nico Rosberg into the chasing pack in a desperate attempt to help Rosberg lose the championship. While that particular strategy didn't work, it highlighted how powerful pace control can be as a tactical weapon. What makes Russell's move even more impressive is the timing. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. He clearly thought this through, recognizing that Verstappen might need reminding of his strategic options. By the time Russell made his radio call, the championship dynamics were already set, and he could see exactly how the pieces were falling into place. The psychological impact of this cannot be understated. Russell, essentially, what if I told you that Formula One drivers are secretly sending messages to their rivals through team radio? That's exactly what happened during the most crucial qualifying session of the 2025 season, where George Russell pulled off a psychological masterstroke that could change everything we thought we knew about racing strategy. Picture this scenario. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix qualifying session. The championship is on the line. Max Verstappen needs a miracle to beat Lando Norris to the title. And then, out of nowhere, George Russell makes a radio call that sends shockwaves through the paddock. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. That radio message wasn't actually meant for his own team. Let me break down what really happened during those final moments of qualifying that has everyone talking. Russell's seemingly innocent request to get a tow from Verstappen was actually a calculated psychological move designed to plant an idea directly into Red Bull's strategy room. This isn't just clever racecraft, it's next-level mind games at the highest level of motorsport. The setup was perfect for Russell's master plan. Verstappen had secured pole position, but Norris was starting right behind him in second place. With a 12-point championship lead, Norris only needed a podium finish to secure the title. Verstappen, on the other hand, needed to win the race and hoped Norris finished fourth or lower. The mathematics were brutal for the Red Bull driver. During the final qualifying runs, Russell made what appeared to be a standard tactical request over the radio. He asked his Mercedes team to position him directly behind Verstappen during the preparation lap, saying the Red Bull driver would probably give him a slipstream. On the surface, this seemed like typical qualifying strategy. Drivers often seek aerodynamic assistance from cars ahead to improve their lap times. But Russell later revealed the true genius behind his radio call. He admitted that his message was intentionally designed as a hint to Red Bull's pit wall. He wanted to remind them that Verstappen needed other cars between himself and Norris if he had any realistic chance of winning the championship. This wasn't about Russell's own qualifying performance. It was about psychological warfare at its finest. The beauty of Russell's strategy lies in its subtlety. Team radio communications are broadcast live during qualifying sessions, meaning every team can hear what their competitors are discussing. Russell knew that Red Bull would be listening to every radio call, analyzing every strategic move their rivals were making. By making his request audible to everyone, he was essentially coaching Red Bull on how they should approach Sunday's race. Think about the psychological impact of this move. Russell wasn't just racing for position. He was actively trying to influence his competitor's strategy. He understood that Verstappen's only path to the championship involved getting other cars between himself and Norris during the race. By publicly stating this obvious tactical requirement, Russell was ensuring that Red Bull couldn't ignore this strategic option. The historical context makes Russell's move even more significant. The situation immediately brought back memories of the 2016 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, when Lewis Hamilton famously slowed the pace to back his Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg into the chasing pack. Hamilton's strategy nearly worked, but Rosberg held on to secure second place and the championship before retiring from Formula One just 5 days later. Russell clearly saw the parallels between that historic race and the current championship scenario. He understood that Verstappen's best chance of beating Norris involved employing similar tactics, controlling the pace to create opportunities for the McLaren driver to make mistakes or lose positions to other competitors. The Mercedes driver was remarkably candid about his expectations for Sunday's race. He predicted that if the drivers finished the first lap in the same order they started, Verstappen would definitely attempt to back up the field. Russell explained that this wouldn't require dangerous driving. Simply managing the pace by 3 or 4 tenths of a second per lap would be enough to compress the field and create strategic opportunities. Russell's technical explanation revealed his deep understanding of race dynamics. He pointed out that on certain types of circuits, drivers can easily drop half a second or a full second at specific track sections without creating safety risks. This pace management technique is particularly effective on street circuits, where overtaking opportunities are limited and track position is crucial. The psychological aspect of Russell's strategy extends beyond simple tactical advice. By making his radio call public, he was also applying pressure on Red Bull to actually implement these tactics. Sometimes in high-pressure situations, teams can overthink their strategies or hesitate to make bold moves. Russell's hint served as a reminder that aggressive tactics might be necessary for championship success. From a competitive standpoint, Russell's move demonstrates the evolution of modern Formula One racing. Today's drivers aren't just focused on their own performance. They're constantly thinking about the broader championship implications and how they can influence outcomes even when they're not directly competing for titles themselves. The timing of Russell's radio call was particularly significant. Making this suggestion during qualifying rather than during the race itself gave Red Bull an entire evening to consider their strategic options. This advance notice could prove crucial in their race planning and decision-making process. Russell's admission about his true intentions also reveals the sophisticated level of strategic thinking that occurs in modern Formula One. Every radio communication is calculated. Every strategic move is analyzed for its potential impact on multiple scenarios. The days of simple, straightforward racing tactics are long gone. The broader implications of this incident extend to how we understand driver relationships and competitive dynamics in Formula One. Russell wasn't trying to help Verstappen win the championship out of friendship or rivalry with Norris. Instead, he was acknowledging that the most exciting championship scenarios often require bold strategic moves that create unpredictable racing situations. Looking ahead to race day, Russell's psychological intervention has set up what could be one of the most strategically complex championship deciders in recent memory. Red Bull now has a clear tactical roadmap, but they also know that everyone expects them to implement these pressure tactics. This creates additional layers of strategic complexity and psychological pressure. The incident also highlights Russell's maturity as a racing driver and strategic thinker. Despite not being in championship contention himself, he demonstrated sophisticated understanding of competitive dynamics and wasn't afraid to influence the broader narrative of the season finale. Russell's clever radio trick represents everything fascinating about modern Formula One. The combination of raw speed, technical precision, and psychological warfare that makes the sport endlessly compelling. As we head into Sunday's championship decider, one thing is certain: George Russell has already won the battle of minds, regardless of what happens on the track. When a seven-time world champion says he doesn't have the words to express how he feels, you know something has gone seriously wrong. Lewis Hamilton's dream move to Ferrari has turned into an absolute nightmare. And we're about to dive deep into one of the most shocking Formula One stories of the year. Picture this: Lewis Hamilton, arguably the greatest driver in Formula One history, sitting in a Ferrari garage in Abu Dhabi, completely speechless after yet another qualifying disaster. This is the same man who's won more races than anyone except Michael Schumacher, the driver who's dominated the sport for over a decade. And now, he can barely find words to describe his pain. What we witnessed at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix wasn't just another bad qualifying session. It was the crushing finale to what might go down as the most disappointing season in modern Formula One history. Hamilton didn't just struggle in Abu Dhabi. He suffered his fourth consecutive first-round qualifying elimination. Think about that for a moment. 4 weekends in a row, one of the sport's legends couldn't even make it past the opening qualifying session. But here's where this story gets even more unbelievable. Hamilton is on track to complete an entire Formula One season without a single podium finish. For a driver with over 100 career wins, this represents a fall from grace so dramatic, it seems almost impossible to comprehend. We're talking about a man who just 2 seasons ago was fighting for world championships, now struggling to even qualify in the top 15. The numbers tell a story that's hard to believe. In Las Vegas last month, Hamilton became the first Ferrari driver since 2009 to qualify dead last on pure pace. Not because of penalties or technical issues, but simply because his car wasn't fast enough. The psychological impact of that moment must have been devastating for someone who spent most of his career starting from the front rows. What makes this situation even more painful is how it unfolded in Abu Dhabi. Hamilton's preparations were completely derailed when he crashed during the final practice session. The incident happened at turn 9, that long, sweeping left-hander, when the car began bouncing violently and he lost control of the rear end. Ferrari's engineers spotted the bouncing issue going into the corner but couldn't prevent the crash that would set the tone for another disastrous qualifying session. The crash itself tells us so much about what's been wrong with Hamilton's Ferrari all season. He described the car as feeling great, right up until the moment it betrayed him. This has been the recurring theme throughout 2025, moments where Hamilton believes he's found the pace only to have it snatched away by unpredictable car behavior. Making matters worse, Hamilton had already missed valuable track time on Friday when Ferrari was required to run a rookie driver during the first practice session. Arthur Leclerc, Charles Leclerc's younger brother, took over Hamilton's car as Ferrari fulfilled their mandatory rookie running requirements. While Hamilton acknowledged that everyone faces similar challenges, losing practice time when you're already struggling is particularly damaging. When reporters pressed Hamilton about whether the crash directly impacted his qualifying performance, his response revealed just how fragile his confidence has become. He admitted it definitely didn't help to miss his second qualifying run, but even before the accident, the underlying problems remained. The bouncing issue that caused his crash had been present throughout practice, suggesting deeper fundamental problems with the car's setup. Ferrari's inability to identify and fix the root cause of Hamilton's crash speaks to broader issues within the team. When Hamilton asked if they'd figured out what went wrong, the response was telling. They simply fixed the damaged parts without addressing the bouncing problem that caused the incident in the first place. This reactive rather than proactive approach has characterized Ferrari's handling of Hamilton's struggles all season. The contrast between Hamilton and his teammate Charles Leclerc has been stark and painful to watch. While Hamilton has endured 4 consecutive first-round qualifying exits, Leclerc has consistently performed at a much higher level. The head-to-head statistics between the teammates make for brutal reading if you're a Hamilton fan, highlighting just how far off the pace he's been. What's particularly heartbreaking is Hamilton's resigned acceptance of his situation. When asked about his prospects for the final race of the season, his response was almost defeated. He acknowledged there wasn't much he could do from 16th position and that this had become the same story every weekend. For a driver known for his fighting spirit and never-give-up attitude, this level of resignation is deeply concerning. The timing of this collapse couldn't be worse for Hamilton. At 39 years old, questions about whether age has caught up with him are inevitable. Critics who once praised his racecraft and adaptability are now wondering if the sport has simply passed him by. The move to Ferrari was supposed to be his chance for one final championship push, but instead it's exposed vulnerabilities that many thought didn't exist. Looking ahead to the winter break, Hamilton's responses to questions about resetting and planning for next season were equally troubling. When asked if the break would be enough time to recover mentally from such a bruising year, he simply noted it was the shortest break of the season. Even more concerning was his admission that he had no action plan for the upcoming season, no clear strategy for turning things around. The psychological toll of this season on Hamilton cannot be understated. For someone who's built his entire identity around being one of the fastest drivers on the planet, consistently qualifying at the back of the grid must feel like a personal crisis. The confidence that once made him virtually unbeatable has been systematically destroyed by months of disappointing performances. Ferrari's handling of Hamilton's struggles raises serious questions about their development capabilities and driver support systems. How does a team take one of the greatest drivers in history and reduce him to someone who can't even make it out of the first qualifying session? The technical and strategic failures that led to this situation will undoubtedly be analyzed extensively during the off-season. As we head into what could be Hamilton's final seasons in Formula One, this nightmare year at Ferrari serves as a stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can change in motorsport. The driver who once seemed invincible now faces the very real possibility that his career might end not with championship glory, but with the whimper of consistent backmarker performances. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix qualifying session may have ended Hamilton's season, but the questions it raised about his future, Ferrari's competence, and the cruel nature of elite motorsport will linger long into the winter months ahead. Picture this. You're watching Formula One practice, and suddenly two cars collide in the pit lane. Not on track during a high-speed battle, but in what should be the safest area of the circuit. That's exactly what happened at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and the fallout has just cost Mercedes a hefty fine. But this incident reveals so much more about the pressure cooker environment of modern Formula One than you might think. What we witnessed during the third practice session at Yas Marina was a perfect storm of circumstances that led to a costly mistake. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, the young Italian driver making waves in his debut Formula One season with Mercedes, found himself at the center of controversy when his car made contact with Yuki Tsunoda's Red Bull in the pit lane. The sequence of events unfolded rapidly during those crucial final minutes of practice. Tsunoda was navigating down the fast lane when Mercedes made the decision to release Antonelli from his pit box. In motorsport, timing is everything, and on this occasion, that timing went disastrously wrong. Antonelli's Mercedes caught the right rear corner of Tsunoda's Red Bull, causing significant damage to both vehicles. The impact wasn't trivial. Tsunoda's car suffered damage to its floor and bargeboard area, critical aerodynamic components that teams spend millions developing. Meanwhile, Antonelli's front wing end plate took a hit on the left side. In Formula One, where every piece of bodywork is precisely engineered for maximum performance, this kind of damage represents both a financial blow and a potential competitive disadvantage. What makes this incident particularly fascinating is the human element behind it. The radio communications captured in the aftermath paint a vivid picture of the confusion and frustration that followed. Tsunoda's immediate reaction over the radio was telling, using colorful language to express his shock at what had just occurred. When his team asked about damage, his response confirmed what everyone could see. Both cars had suffered. On the Mercedes side, the radio chatter revealed the split-second decision-making that led to the collision. Antonelli had been given clear instructions to proceed straight out of his pit box after receiving a signal from his mechanic. His post-contact radio message showed his awareness that something had gone wrong, acknowledging that Tsunoda was approaching even as he followed his team's directions. The investigation that followed was swift and thorough. The FIA summoned representatives from both teams along with the drivers themselves to face the stewards before qualifying began. This kind of rapid response demonstrates how seriously governing bodies treat pit lane safety, an area where the margin for error is virtually non-existent. Mercedes' defense during the hearing was both honest and revealing. Team representatives acknowledged they had been in a rush to get Antonelli back on track following a red flag period, caused by Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari crash earlier in the session. This admission highlights one of the most challenging aspects of Formula One, the constant pressure to maximize every available moment of practice time. The €10,000 fine imposed on Mercedes matches a precedent set earlier in the season when Ferrari faced a similar penalty for a pit lane collision between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris at the Singapore Grand Prix. This consistency in penalties shows the FIA's commitment to maintaining clear standards regardless of which teams are involved. Toto Wolff's response to the incident demonstrated the kind of leadership that has made him one of the most respected team principals in the sport. His immediate apology to Tsunoda and acknowledgement of Mercedes' responsibility showed accountability in a sport where blame is often deflected. His comment about damaging all the good parts of Tsunoda's car revealed both his understanding of the technical implications and his genuine regret over the team's error. The timing of this incident couldn't have been worse for either driver. Practice sessions are crucial for setup work and confidence building before qualifying and race day. For Tsunoda, losing valuable track time due to repairs meant less opportunity to fine-tune his car's performance. For Antonelli, the incident added another challenging moment to what has already been a learning-filled rookie season. This collision also highlighted the unique pressures facing pit lane operations in modern Formula One. Teams work with military precision during pit stops and practice sessions, with every movement choreographed and timed to the second. When external factors like red flags disrupt these carefully planned sequences, the pressure to recover lost time can lead to hasty decisions. The incident raises important questions about pit lane protocols and safety measures. While Formula One has made tremendous strides in improving safety over the decades, the pit lane remains an area where multiple teams operate in close proximity under intense time pressure. The fast lane is designed to keep traffic flowing, but when releases go wrong, the consequences can be significant. For Antonelli, this represents another learning experience in his transition to Formula One. Every rookie faces moments where the sport's unforgiving nature becomes apparent, and pit lane incidents are particularly frustrating because they often result from factors beyond the driver's direct control. His response to following team instructions while being aware of the developing situation showed the kind of situational awareness that will serve him well as his career progresses. The broader implications for Mercedes extend beyond the financial penalty. In a sport where reputation and operational excellence are paramount, any mistake that affects another team draws scrutiny. The team's handling of the aftermath, particularly Wolff's transparent communication, helped minimize any lasting damage to relationships with competitors. Looking at the technical aspects, the specific components damaged in this collision underscore how vulnerable modern Formula One cars are to contact. The sophisticated aerodynamic elements that generate downforce and manage airflow are precisely engineered but relatively fragile. Even minor contact can have major performance implications, making pit lane incidents particularly costly. The investigation process itself demonstrates Formula One's commitment to learning from every incident. By reviewing video footage, team radio communications, and in-car camera angles, the stewards gathered comprehensive evidence before reaching their decision. This thorough approach ensures that penalties are based on complete information rather than assumptions or incomplete data. As Formula One continues to evolve, incidents like this serve as important reminders of the human element that remains at the sport's core. Despite all the technology and precision engineering, split-second decisions made under pressure can still lead to unexpected consequences. The key lies in learning from these moments and implementing improvements to prevent future occurrences. The resolution of this incident, with Mercedes accepting responsibility and paying the fine, closes one chapter while opening discussions about pit lane safety and procedures. In a sport where every detail matters and every second counts, finding the right balance between speed and safety remains an ongoing challenge that teams, drivers, and officials must navigate together. Imagine watching Formula One and suddenly seeing two cars nearly collide because one team made a catastrophically dangerous mistake in the pit lane. Well, that's exactly what happened at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and the consequences are now sending shockwaves through the paddock. The governing body just dropped the hammer on Williams Racing, and this story reveals something much bigger about safety standards in modern Formula One that every fan needs to understand. What we're about to dive into today goes far beyond just one team getting slapped with a fine. This incident exposes the razor-thin margins between routine pit operations and potential disaster in Formula One. We'll break down exactly what Williams did wrong, why this particular unsafe release was so dangerous it forced another driver to slam on the brakes to avoid a collision, and how this connects to a pattern of similar incidents that's becoming increasingly concerning for race officials. But here's where it gets really interesting. This wasn't an isolated mistake. Williams had already been involved in an identical situation just 1 week earlier at the Qatar Grand Prix, and they somehow escaped punishment that time. The fact that they repeated the same error suggests something deeper is going wrong with their pit procedures, and the timing couldn't be worse as teams prepare for the upcoming season. Let's start with what actually happened during that chaotic Saturday practice session in Abu Dhabi. Alex Albon was sitting in his Williams car, waiting for the green light from his pit crew to rejoin the track after a routine stop. The mechanics finished their work, gave the signal, and Albon pulled out into what he thought was a clear pit lane. But there was a massive problem brewing that nobody on the Williams pit wall seemed to notice. Esteban Ocon was approaching in his Haas at normal pit lane speeds when suddenly Albon's Williams appeared directly in his path. The near miss was so close and so dangerous that Ocon had to brake almost to a complete stop to avoid what could have been a devastating collision. In Formula One terms, That's about as serious as pit lane incidents get without actual contact occurring. The stewards investigated the incident thoroughly, reviewing video footage from multiple angles, listening to team radio communications, and examining in-car camera evidence. They also interviewed both drivers and team representatives to get a complete picture of what went wrong. Their conclusion was unambiguous and damning for Williams. According to the official steward's report, this was described as a clear case of an unsafe release that caused another car to brake almost to a stop to avoid a collision. That language is significant because it indicates the stewards viewed this as an obvious and serious safety violation, not a marginal call or racing incident. The €5,000 fine might seem relatively modest in the context of Formula One budgets, but the real impact goes beyond the financial penalty. This represents a formal black mark against Williams' safety record, and it comes at a time when the team is trying to rebuild its reputation and competitiveness in the sport. What makes this situation even more concerning is the pattern of repetition. Just 7 days earlier at the Qatar Grand Prix, Williams and Albon had been involved in an almost identical incident with the same driver, Esteban Ocon. In that case, the stewards decided against taking any action, essentially giving Williams a warning shot that they needed to tighten up their pit procedures. The fact that Williams repeated the exact same mistake 1 week later suggests their internal processes for managing pit releases haven't been properly addressed. This isn't about a momentary lapse in concentration or a freak accident. This appears to be a systematic issue with how the team manages the complex choreography of getting cars safely in and out of the pits during high-pressure practice and qualifying sessions. For context, unsafe releases have been a persistent safety concern in Formula One for decades. The pit lane is one of the most dangerous areas of any racing circuit because you have mechanics working on cars, drivers at various stages of pit stops, and vehicles moving at different speeds in a relatively confined space. The margin for error is essentially zero. That's exactly why the sport's governing body takes these incidents so seriously, even when no actual collision occurs. The stewards understand that what separates a near miss from a catastrophic accident is often just a matter of inches and split-second timing. In this case, Ocon's quick reflexes and ability to brake hard likely prevented serious injuries or worse. The Abu Dhabi incident also highlights the increasing pressure teams face during practice sessions, especially in the modern era of limited track time. Teams have just 3 practice sessions to set up their cars for qualifying and the race, which means every minute on track is precious. This urgency can sometimes lead to rushed decisions and procedural shortcuts that compromise safety. Saturday's practice session was particularly chaotic, with multiple incidents occurring throughout the day. The stewards were kept busy dealing with various infractions beyond just the Williams' unsafe release. Aston Martin received hefty fines after their drivers failed to appear at a mandatory fan event. Red Bull was penalized for an incident involving Yuki Tsunoda impeding another driver, and Mercedes also faced sanctions after a pit lane collision. This wave of penalties suggests that teams were operating under intense pressure as they prepared for what many considered one of the most important qualifying sessions of the season. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix often serves as a showcase event for Formula One, with heightened scrutiny from media, fans, and sponsors. That additional pressure might have contributed to the series of mistakes we saw throughout the weekend. For Alex Albon personally, this incident adds another frustrating chapter to what has been a challenging period in his Formula One career. After fighting to establish himself as a reliable driver, capable of extracting maximum performance from difficult cars, incidents like this one don't help his cause. While the unsafe release wasn't his fault as a driver, these situations can still affect a driver's confidence and rhythm during crucial practice sessions. The broader implications for Williams are significant as well. The team has been working hard to rebuild its reputation after years of struggling at the back of the grid. Investing heavily in new facilities, personnel, and development programs, Williams has shown signs of progress in recent seasons. However, basic operational mistakes like unsafe pit releases can undermine that progress and raise questions about the team's overall attention to detail. Looking ahead, This incident will likely prompt Williams to review and potentially overhaul their pit procedures. In the high-stakes world of Formula One, teams cannot afford to make the same safety mistake twice, especially when it involves putting other drivers at risk. The governing body has made it clear that repeated violations will result in escalating penalties. The timing of this penalty also serves as a reminder to all teams about the importance of maintaining safety standards, even during the intense pressure of race weekends. As Formula One continues to push the boundaries of speed and technology, the human elements of safety and procedure become even more critical. What this story really tells us is that in Formula One, there's no such thing as a small mistake when it comes to safety. Every decision, every signal, and every movement in the pit lane carries potentially enormous consequences. The €5,000 fine for Williams isn't just punishment for one unsafe release. It's a message to the entire paddock that safety remains the sport's highest priority, regardless of championship standings, team budgets, or competitive pressures. As we look toward the new season, incidents like this serve as valuable reminders that behind all the glamour and excitement of Formula One lies a constant commitment to protecting the people who make this incredible sport possible.